Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of WWT Experts. My name is Matthew Coble. I'll be your host today. And today's WWT expert is Mark Wall, who's Worldwide Technologies Director of Automation Consulting. And today we're going to be talking about how data is driving automation. Mark has over 15 years of experience in global networking, application services, and automation. He's a master of infrastructure automation and connects both our clients and our team at WWT to help make sure we're automating everything right. He brings a spirit of learning, innovation, and collaboration to his work, and he's focused on the ways that automation brings visibility and efficiency to the outcomes we create with our clients. Mark Wall, welcome. It's great to have you here with us today.
Matt, appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity, and really excited to be here today.
Excellent. Well, let's jump right in, Mark. The topic, data is driving automation. Tell us what that means.
Yeah, and just to kind of level set really quick, we're seeing just with the industry, with the economy, everything going on, the need to reduce complexity, automation really is the standard. Technology always evolves, but adopting and consuming that technology is huge, and really for IT and even the business, right, to be more predictive and aligned to those outcomes. So, there's a lack of resource in the industry. We need to do more with less. So we need to be more intelligent in what we're trying to do. Everything from modernizing infrastructure to providing better intelligence to make, financial and other larger decisions, as well as, mitigating and reducing, human error. How do we mitigate risk? How do we be, more accurate in really what we're trying to do? So automation is paramount today. And, a couple examples we're really seeing in this whole, kind of data and automation better together is everything from, we have infrastructure renewals. If you're a large organization and maybe you're lacking confidence in, what do I actually have and what do I need to, update my support on? Maybe you have tens of thousands of devices, multiple sources of truth. How do we ensure that we are better aligned to saying this device is actually running and operating and I need to support it, or, hey, it's turned on in a closet somewhere, and it's not actually doing anything. So how do we, enrich data and be more accurate? Another one we're really seeing is, the examples of, being data driven around IP address management. Some of our clients that we work with have, a lack of running out of IP addressing internally. So as they expand, as they, grow in their organization, how do we ensure what is actually in use and what is not in use? And really just enriching that data and that inventory of what we're seeing. And finally, another one we're seeing quite a bit is just general end-to-end life cycle management. How do I understand what I have? What is it doing? The world and industry and a lot of our clients, we're great at pushing a button and automating, but then we're not so great at how do we decommission? How do we clean up our inventory systems? How do we sort of, enrich that data, so to speak? So if you kind of look at everything going on, we've been spending a lot of time just pushing a button, get banana, everything's going great, but we just need to take a step back and say, how do we leverage data to be more accurate and really enrich what we're trying to do from a business standpoint?
Well, that's interesting, Mark, and I know that data is a key component, but as you talk through that, there's all kinds of stuff that organizations can automate, right? So how do you know what to automate?
Yeah, and we used to make a joke and say, well, automate the thing that you hate the most doing, which is not a bad idea sometimes, but really we see it in a couple ways, right? You got to create excitement and momentum. So, it's always balancing what is low-hanging fruit versus, much more strategic transformational wins. And it's really driving that delicate balance. So we always recommend create some momentum, create some excitement, find some low-hanging fruit and be able to drive some good outcomes, show some value and create that energy and that excitement. But really, once you sort of get some momentum, you need to really think about what's my sort of strategic foundation, right? How do I think about adoption and consumption of this automation for people to build more buttons, for people to push those buttons? So it's always important to think about Well, how do I build this foundation as well as looking at where's it going to make the most impact short term and long term? So we have a lot of our clients and a lot of things we even do internally around business process improvements or sort of taking a page out of what manufacturing has done for years and doing a sort of a process review called value stream mapping and really looking at kind of those end-to-end workflows to make sure if you're automating one thing here and this, it's not going to all pile up and create a giant traffic jam at the end of the day. So, again, creating some of these excitement, low-hanging fruit, create a strategic platform, and then do some level of high value, low effort analysis of where you're going to be able to make the most impact short term and long term.
So tell us a little bit more about the importance of data, Mark. I know that data scientists are really wanting to do more with data today to drive insights and even make new product offerings happen. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, really a huge way to think about it, or a simple way to think about it rather, is just how do I have better business intelligence? How do I understand and make better decisions with the data that I have available and make those decisions with confidence, right? We have a saying, every organization is a data organization, no matter what level you're on. So really taking into account the data and the analysis that are at hand and using that to make important business decisions is really key. So how do I better understand option A versus option B? And then once you sort of have that foundation, do I need to, raise my prices or lower my prices? What is the weather today, right? What is the weather next week? What is the historical demand trends? How do I sort of adjust things and play sort of what if scenarios is another way to look at it. So once you sort of build that importance, it's really how do I drive better business intelligence and then leverage the power of automation to drive and implement those changes and those outcomes. And you can even do the same in reverse of using automation to gather data, to bring in and then enrich that data, and then use the automation from an output perspective, again, to make those changes and drive those outcomes that you're speaking to. So once you sort of get a handle on that, really the goal we're seeing a lot of our clients think about is creating self-service. So once you sort of build this foundation of gathering data, enriching data, and then providing those outcomes via automation, how do I build this as a platform that I can bring in other parts of the IT organization or other parts of the business to be able to tap into? So if you kind of think about it, it's almost like, calling an Uber, right? I don't want to have to, bring this, laundry list of things and analysis and all that. I'd love to be able, out of a touch of a button, tap into sort of this data and automation platform and being able to drive, those outcomes. So we're seeing a lot of our clients build these platforms and these as a service models that they can sort of drive from an internal consumption as well as with some of their industry peers or partners. We have a large sort of healthcare pharmaceutical client that we're working with now that's building this sort of machine learning and AI platform for a lot of research and development that they're going to figure out all the nuances and all the supercomputing and power and being able to sort of provide that as a service for their clients and their other partners that they're working with to be able to consume just like you would an application or a cloud sort of SaaS type of service. So this is becoming huge in the industry right now, is making data and automation just an easier way to drive a lot of those outcomes.
Listen, Mark, we know that business and technology are getting more and more complex, and as a consequence of that, a lot of organizations struggle with compliance, with audit. Then we bring in the pandemic, the supply chain challenges that put pressure on everything. And over the last several years, people really just kind of get through as best as they can. But that's definitely led to issues about knowing, what I have, where it is, knowing whether it's compliant. And I'm curious for you to tell us about how automation is helping organizations tackle that compliance and audit problem.
Yeah, no, great question. And it's always interesting just to be able to provide new and interesting ways to solve some of the problems that are new and are coming around. Security has always been and always will be absolutely paramount for every organization out there. So not only from just a compliance to make sure that if there's regulatory or internal obligations that they must meet, but ensuring that the infrastructure, the software, the organization is secure. So leveraging, automation to query, understand are certain policies applied, and then if they are missing, be able to automatically remediate those. So think of this as sort of identifying and establishing these templates and these patterns, and if they don't exist, be able to automatically remediate, or to be able to alert and provide a different sort of means to be able to do that. We're working with a large client right now where they have tens and tens and tens of thousands of devices globally. So to maintain that compliance across, different, countries, different languages, different acquisitions, it's incredibly difficult. So we're working with them to build this end-to-end lifecycle solution that really goes out and queries and understands, what is the end of life for this device? What is the specific code version that it should be running? Tying it back and enriching some of their inventory systems, as well as bringing in things like lead time from the OEMs. So to be able to understand, are my devices compliant? If they're not, what do I need to do to remediate them? If I need to remediate them, is it something that's as simple as a software upgrade? Or do I need to purchase something? If I need to purchase something, when do I need to order it? There's supply chain challenges and a lot of these other things that are going on in the world. So thinking about a better way to, again, take all of that data and all that information that I was mentioning and bring it into sort of this business intelligence mechanism and leverage automation to be able to query and update things as needed. And so this is something that also gives you things like OEM agility. So maybe I would love to order, solution A, but the lead time is, 9 months or a year, but I could order solution B, and I can get that in, 3 to 4 months. So with the ability of automation to not only better understand, the business intelligence of what I need to do, but using automation to be able to abstract away complexity and give you that OEM agility to say, well, I want to provide these type of services. I can do it with either solution A or solution B because I'm wrapping that in automation and giving that agility.
Well, Mark, I want to go back to the topic of data science. I think we all think of data science as being very complex, but it seems there are opportunities to make it easier and better by integrating and connecting it with the technologies and processes needed for software development. So in other words, like let's take the good work we've done within the software development world and do the same things for data science, right? So you've spoken with me about that. How do we do that?
Yeah. No, it's a great question. There's this concept of, ML ops and, then there's AI ops and there's get ops and, there's a kind of a key word there, right? It's ops. How do I perform operations in a more consistent and robust way and really drive collaboration? So what we're starting to see a lot more of and helping work with our clients is how do we take principles from DevOps, developer and IT operations sort of better commingling? How do we take, ML ops and tie that into a DevOps type mechanism so I can provide self-service? So, the saying I used to say is, data scientists don't grow on trees. They're, very, strategic type resource within your organization. So how do we allow them to be the most efficient as possible and tie into the larger, developer enablement, platform engineering, sort of data science enablement mechanism to where they can tie into multiple environments to test things out, provide that self-service mechanism, be able to provide and onboard new use cases. So really kind of the shift from, what IT has done from an operations standpoint to empower and enable developers, we're starting to see that now for data science. So how do we build as a data science as a service platforms? How do we simplify onboarding new use cases or onboarding new employees or onboarding the different business entities to be able to tap in and consume to that, as well as even tying in similar things around, time sharing? How do I, put a request in to be able to run some of these, algorithms and really, do the meat of this and get an output. A lot of times these are siloed. A lot of times the data science side is driven from a business unit that's sometimes outside of IT. So really taking the power of what, we've all been doing in the IT space for the last, 20 years or so, and really empowering and enabling application development and integrating this into the data science mechanism going forward. So it's just a consistent part of not only the business, but also from an IT standpoint, and making that very streamlined end to end.
Well, so Mark, how do teams develop skills in this area? There's a team or individuals, right? Is that possible, or do you just have to go hire data scientists?
Well, I would say, even like programming in other areas, it's always good to be well-rounded. So, really the idea is you don't have to have a PhD. You don't have to have, a huge amount of, mathematics and statistics and other things, but it certainly helps. So really the idea is to first understand a little bit about the why, like how can this help you solve problems? There's absolutely an enormous amount of data science, even tying into data engineering and a lot of other areas available online. And then we even have some great links here on the WWT.com platform that can kind of help you, get started and learn, but really thinking about, blending sort of the IT and automation. So what are some basic programmability concepts? So learning a little bit of Python is good to tap into not only the automation, but also some of the data science. Really, understanding a little bit about, mathematics and statistics, nothing crazy, but there's a lot of libraries, there's a lot of frameworks, there's a lot of foundation out there for you to be able to learn and understand. So I would encourage all of you to be able to kind of go out and look, but really having that core basic programmability, understanding some of the algorithms and sort of how they work, not the inner workings and the deep dive minutia of what it actually is. And then thinking about what are some problems that I can solve? If I could better enrich data, if I could better enrich my inventory by, looking at data traffic patterns, or I could, better enrich, when I need to order something by aligning, lead times and, work in progress and some of these other things. So really kind of blending those three pillars together are going to be key for you to be able to get started and be successful on this journey.
Well, Mark, I always love to wrap these sessions with our experts by taking a look at the future. So, in the coming years, artificial intelligence, machine learning, just going to keep getting better and better. So that should make data ever more powerful with respect to automation. And given that, I'm curious to hear from you, what future trends are you excited about in that area?
Yeah, no, and we're seeing, a lot of trends across the board, just even starting with just backing up a little bit and making, call it AI more consumable. Everybody has a cell phone. And so it's making the adoption and onboarding, removing that barrier to entry, I think is going to be very, very exciting. So, a lot of times now, I got to spin up my laptop, I got to load some code, load some libraries, be able to run some analysis, right? We're building a way to abstract away that complexity and really allowing people to onboard this sort of, data science a lot easier, building this sort of, infrastructure and sort of mechanism to provide an easier way to consume it and put in those inputs. So, hey, here's an input of an inventory. Here's an input of, some of the analytics and some of the telemetry, and to be able to model those things out as easy as it is to, order an Uber. So I think over the next, handful of years, we're going to see, much more user-friendly data science, just like we're seeing cloud, just like we're seeing, ordering, goods and services as simple as with a phone application to provide that means to solve a lot of our problems quicker and easier.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Mark. And I know you did one of the very first WWT expert sessions about a year ago. You're back again with us today. Always a pleasure to hear from you. So thanks so much for your time today.
Appreciate it, Matt. Take care. And don't forget to line up the bicycles.
Well, always lining up those bicycles, Marks. Thanks so much. And for those of you who joined us today, thanks for coming. We've got a great catalog of WWT expert sessions in the vault on WWT.com. So if you missed some in the past, go check those out. Plenty more coming up in the future, so go look at our events page on WWT.com and find other expert sessions coming up that you'd like to check out. That's it for today. Thanks for coming, and we'll see you next time.